It's absolutely crazy to me how many kids are cheating nowadays in colleges, both on the education scale of things as well as relationships. You're starting to see these in person classes. If you're currently in college or perhaps you just graduated recently, you're noticing kids literally taking out their phones and looking up answers under the desk or under the table to try to pass these exams and quizzes. And what's funny is that the professors don't even realize this, or they're too lazy to even care. They don't even walk around the damn room to make sure no one is doing this, multiple times every, couple of minutes. It's crazy to me that we're allowing this to happen, and we're starting to see this absolutely taint the IQ levels of a lot of individuals and making us a lot dumber and a lot more reliant on a lot of these softwares when it comes to AI or these homework helpers. You're not even able to critically think anymore to try to work your way through a problem or even ask for help for a professor in which they could steer you in the right direction to finally getting the answer that you would need in order to get the wanted grade that you want. But no, instead, we are now taking the easy way out and just cheating our way through the system. And what's crazy to me is that if you don't cheat, you're going to fall behind. Because a lot of these employers, after you graduate, some of them, especially in the business field, they have a requirement for a GPA that they want. And if you don't meet that requirement, they're just going to throw away your resume and not even give you a chance. So if you're someone that is trying to go through this education system faithfully, and yet you're still getting, B's and perhaps even some C's, while others are getting A's, and they shouldn't be getting A's because they're cheating their way through it, those people that are cheating their way through the education system are probably going to have a lot more options later on. And a lot of people say that, hey, those people that are cheating their way through colleges right now, they're not going to retain any of the information. So when they begin their job, they're not going to know anything and they're probably going to get fired. But the thing is, a lot of these jobs know that a lot of students don't really know how the actual world works or the job duties and responsibilities operate. So they're going to have this grace period of a year or two where you're just trying to learn as much as you can and start from scratch. So I don't think that thought really applies anymore as it maybe once may have. And a really scary thought is that if we're having, doctors and lawyers going through these processes when it comes to even doing their homework and they're using these homework helpers or these AI chat boxes to get through it, just imagine how bad the quality of life is going to be within a couple of decades from now. You're going to have people who are in these important roles that shouldn't be there, who have absolutely no idea on what they're doing because they faked it until they made it. And now they're costing other people's lives a lot more harm that they should have. And I think this is how the system is starting to operate. We're seeing, so many cracks across so many levels when it comes to governments, when it comes to the education system, the economy, whatever it may be, it's all starting to crack and decay. And that decay is already starting to show in a lot of these education systems. Even in high school, you're having so many kids relying on ChatGPT or whatever other AI program to write their essays. And then you go on these forums, these Reddit postings of teachers literally voicing their opinions and, complaining about how so many of their students are cheating their way through college, right? Or high school. They're using these same prompts of putting a prompt in an AI software. The AI does their essay for them and they submit that and it's just the same format and they realize this, but there's nothing that can be done because there's no laws or regulations that are enforcing students to not do this because there's no sort of penalty or consequences. And this is where the bigger theory where a lot of governments want their citizens to become sheeps. They don't want people to critically think, to try to figure things out on their own, because then that wouldn't make them reliant on the government. And that is something that cannot happen. It cannot absolutely happen nowadays with the elites and them trying to pull the strings together to make everything work out for them. Meanwhile, letting everyone else burn down and continuously suffer for no apparent reason other than for their own greed, which they already have enough of, but yet they still continue to want more. And because of how, open the education system is nowadays, everyone is allowed to go in it as long as, you're able to pay for tuition. And even if you're not able to pay for it, you can go ahead and get into debt and take out all these loans. And if you're lucky enough, you'll pay it off after a couple of years of graduating and hopefully you land a job, right? Hopefully. That's another thing. College isn't granting kids nowadays any job opportunities once they graduate, right? You're going to have to at least nowadays have multiple internships while you're in school, ensuring that hopefully one of these internship roles offer you a job after you graduate. And even then, it's not guaranteed because things ultimately change with the economy and things can take a turn for the worst. But you're going to start seeing all these people that shouldn't be going to college because of their smart levels and whatnot, going into college, yet they're somehow able to graduate from college with a degree in who knows what because they were able to cheat their way through it. Meanwhile, the other people who should be going to college and did go to college are now competing with these other people that cheated their way through it, having about the same level of GPA as those people who are smart. And yet, the opportunities now after graduating college when it comes to jobs is that much more competitive because we're allowing so many more people to enter that education system that shouldn't be going in there, because at the end of the day, education is something you want to continue to learn. You want to obtain all this knowledge and actually gain a passion for it, and not just something that, hey, I'm just going to cheat my way through it and move on. And ultimately, a lot of the material that is being given out by these teachers and professors, especially when it comes to these stupid discussion posts online where kids are just, replying in such a fake way, they don't really care about the material, it is not reinforcing these students to want to learn. And if anything, a lot of these professors lack the want or the desire to teach and actually help these students out to become better and to become smarter. That is something that is being lost, but it's also not seemingly being talked about enough. And perhaps there's a whole nother level to that where a lot of the higher ups in the education system are ultimately just ruining the experience for these professors with so many different rules and laws and things that they can and can't teach, which is just, watering down the whole thing in general. And when it comes to the watering down of the material, you're just seeing kids nowadays not even give a damn about that material, which is just adding on to the process of wanting to cheat. Because why am I going to try to learn this material that makes absolutely no relevance to what I'm trying to get to if it's only going to hinder me if I don't get a good grade? And so they go ahead and cheat, get the good grade, and move on. And hopefully, with the things that they want to learn, they're not cheating. But it ultimately builds up this habit within one's self where you just go into cheat anyways.